guys, Professor Bill. Probably hear me a little better like that. Hey guys, Professor Bill, Comic Book University. Hey guys, watch anything good on TV lately? So, for everybody who's been sitting there saying it's Mephisto, it's obviously Mephisto, duh, it's Mephisto, of course it's Mephisto, it's freaking Mephisto. Will you stop now? Can we stop that now? I hate to be grumpy, but like honestly, oh my god, everybody just right away like it's like I don't know. I guess it just happens. People get into a flurry. It could have been Mephisto. I left it open. It could be Mephisto, you know what I'm saying? But it could have been Nightmare. It could have been Agatha Harkness, and go figure, it was Agatha Harkness all along. By the way, did you guys notice that this was the first episode, episode 7, that actually had an end credit scene? Mid credit scene, technically. Yeah, that happened. You can go back. I'm just going to talk about the beginning of this stuff while I'm doing. Go back and watch what you might have missed. I'm going to talk about all that stuff. So this was episode 7, breaking the fourth wall, and this was basically like the Ferris Bueller episode where she's just talking to the camera a lot about how messed up everything is. Now you notice that Billy kept on saying the kid who's going to grow up to, we hope, grow up to be Wiccan. He's talking about how his head hurts, right? His head just hurts so much. And but when he was hanging out with Agnes, who, it's just too funny that like she was named Agnes, kind of like Agatha, but also kind of like Agnes Beef, Bova. So it could have gone anyway. Plus, she's got the little bunny rabbit, not the cat named Ebony, mind you. She's got the rabbit named, what was his name, Mr. Scratches or something like that. So clearly a reference to Nicholas Scratch, her son, leader of the Salem Seven. What do you call it? Yeah, they used to fight the when I used to, I still play the Marvel Superheroes Face Rip game. And it's funny, the very first book I actually got my hands on was the Fantastic Four Compendium. And that was actually the first time I ever saw Nicholas Scratch, the Salem Seven, Agatha Harkness, all that stuff. And they have detailed histories in there. And it was because of that book that I actually started reading the Fantastic Four. So go figure. Little history of the Bill. So, what do you call it? The whole thing was, created by Wanda Maximoff, right? And the whole thing was just Wanda, Wanda, Wanda. But at the very end, they threw in Vision, Wanda Vision, because this was the Wanda show. She kept on saying, well, if Vision doesn't want to show up, then I don't know what to tell you. If your dad doesn't want to show up, I mean, we can't make him, right? And she kept on finding ways to keep him away. So, yeah. Vision hanging out with all the clowns, the former Sword agents. Oh, dude, they wrecked Sword in this episode. Like I'm so beyond this stuff. Like seriously, Sword, the biggest joke that's happened in the MCU. I'm going to get into that stuff in a couple of moments. Um, we still don't know who Ralph is. We still don't know who Ralph is, Agnes's husband, who she keeps on referring to. But what do you call it? She said, it was funny before we actually found out the reveal at the end. She actually says at one point, "Hey kids, it's not like I bite." And then you saw the cutscene where she's talking to the camera. So I guess she's interviewing herself because she was actually the interviewer the whole time. She says, "I actually did bite a kid once." And there's no explanation given. I was like, oh, this is perfect. That is freaking hysterical. I love that. So let's see if I can actually find some stuff. I might actually be able to show you guys a couple of things in this one particular case. Yeah. Let's see. Videos, captures. Oh, yep. Disney Plus. Do. Let's see if I can. Oh, no, that's not how you do it. How do I scroll in on this? I don't, do I? Well, anyway, here, let me, oh, there is a way. Yeah, right here. Let me zoom in on this just a little bit, move it over here, and now let me share my screen with you guys, which is done here. Share screen, this one. Boop. So, look at that. So this is actually from this is the email that Jimmy was reading. I screen captured that really quick because I decided to watch this one on my computer. Which reminds me, I got to get up and stretch pretty soon. I made it through the firewall. This is from Darcy to Jimmy. There are dozens of R&D reports, research and development reports on all on the same project, codenamed Cataract. I found schematics of Vision's body. Hayward, Director Hayward, wasn't decommissioning Vision. He was trying to bring him back online, and he was using Sword resources to do it. Excuse me, he tried over and over, but nothing worked until Wanda stole Vision's body. This is a decoy communique he sent to Vision's office. Darcy. So that's of particular interest because, you know, we saw that Sword is supposed to be the sentient weapons and all that good stuff, research and development stuff. So did they base so much of their tech and everything based off of Vision, his synthezoid body? Seems pretty interesting. By the way, guys, I'm going to get to the comments in a few moments. What do we got there? So what else did I have on here? No, that's not it. Can I get out of here? Okay, cool. All right, cool. Now I look at this. Anybody notice this? The very first image of a person that they show in the show is actually right here. Bang. You've got this vision of the Phoenix. First appearance of an X character in the show. So this is one of the Sword agents. That is a perfect facsimile of the freaking Dark Phoenix specifically, not the regular Phoenix, but Dark Phoenix. That I'm just saying I noticed that. And there was one more thing. Oh, just the shape of the sandwiches. They just looked super weird to me. I didn't understand that. But anyway, I thought maybe that was going to do something. I know that kids like to eat around the crust and everything, but I mean, come on. There's a limit. So, here's the thing that actually bothered me. So we got to find out more about Cataract, codename Cataract. Here's the thing that actually bothered me. Oh, plus there was the commercial in there for the Nexus. Okay, yeah, okay, cool, nice reference to blah blah blah, the stuff and getting her in the program to actually make Vision and Scarlet Witch and all that good stuff. Here we go. Sword. Sword has a renegade detachment. This is the thing that actually bothered me a lot. First off, this is a television series. It's not a movie, so you don't have to ramrod anything. You could actually just have a good show. You could actually just, you know, when you're watching a movie, sometimes you got to force a couple of things you got to sacrifice story to keep this, you know, you got to sacrifice character development, whatever, in order to get the story moving, keep the story moving, to keep it entertaining. But a television show, you get to expand that out. I mean, 2, 3, 4 episodes of a television show equals a movie to begin with. And when you've got 9 episodes of this, you know, forget about a whole season, like an actual long season, which can go 23 episodes sometimes. Even on Netflix, they were freaking 13 episodes long, right? The Marvel properties. By the way, Punisher and Jessica Jones are now back in Disney's purview, so we could wind up getting them showing up in the Spider-Man thing or the Doctor Strange thing. Sword having renegade detachments was probably the most annoying thing to me. So basically, Sword is an absolute non-factor. That's what I'm understanding here. By them having a group that was willing to get away. And by the way, this didn't go anywhere. The thing from the previous episode where they said, I know a scientist. So did we meet the scientist? Was it just that one girl that was there? Because that was kind of pointless to me. It didn't make any sense. What was the point of that? You had an opportunity to actually do something cool here. We know I know everybody's talking about, oh, it might be Reed Richards. It might. He ain't. What I would have enjoyed seeing was if it was Riri Williams somehow, just this, you know, and this, because they're going to be making the Ironheart TV series in 2 years anyway, you know, 2 or 3 years, they did say. I got to be fair. But how cool would it have been to just get a quick little glimpse of here's this little girl, you know, who she remembers from back in the day. It kind of would have been weird since she's been gone for 5 years, so maybe that wouldn't have worked. But how cool would it have been? Jimmy Woo comes up. It's like, this is the scientist you're talking about. She's like, what are you? What are you? 15? She's like 16. Thank you very much. Just something like that. You know, I guess that could have been kind of cool. Anyway, whatever. That's just me. Um, I liked I did, however, like when the monster truck sound for that it looked like one of the Lem or the Mars Land Rover, the Moxie. It looked like one of those. Didn't do a lot, but I like when she revved up the engine. She's like I got to do a check, and then she just boom boom, and you heard that monster truck sound. She's like, good check. I laughed. I took it aside really quick and I laughed over that. That was really good. I enjoyed that. Um, what's her name? Darcy mentioning that she's notoriously self-involved. Told you guys. But anyway, just for the sake of conversation, the idea that there's a renegade detachment of Sword. If this is an aspect in any way, shape, or form of the military, this is like the last thing that we would ever want. The idea that the military could actually separate a division of the military that works independently from another and can actually go against another aspect of the military, that would be, I mean, like this is within the same group. So it's not even like, oh, what if the Marines and the Army fought, which, by the way, I can't imagine ever happening. But imagine if like the Marines actually split into two detachments and purposely went at each other. I know there's probably a lot of people that weren't ever in the military who, well, I could see something like that happening, but anybody who was, you would say, yeah, no, that's essentially impossible. I can't see like how many lines of communication and resources would have to be broken down in order for something like that to happen. That would just be a bridge too far to me. So the idea that a cohesive unit could be not quite so cohesive, it can actually split and become renegade factions against each other, that's just not cool. I do see one question over there that's interesting that I don't have an answer to. What is the book? Karen Hines, really good question, as somebody else goes and mentions also. Um, what do you call it? It could very well be the Darkhold. I'm not overly familiar with that symbol that was on there, the round, and pointing down and round and pointing up, the forks. It could be the Darkhold. It could be something like that. It's probably going to come up later. And somebody who, like you have CBR and all these other places who wind up doing videos like 2-3 days later after the episode's already up, where they'll be like, oh, well, boom, 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 and this and that, and they seem so knowledgeable. It's like, no, you just look this stuff up. Like, with all due respect, you're a big dumb company and you just looked a bunch of stuff up. Congratulations. Any of us could have done that. It's always easy when you don't have to and somebody else does it and you got a big budget to do that stuff. Me, I just have to go off of my memory, and my own knowledge of the books and whatnot. And I can't say I'm overly familiar with that symbol. I can't even say I've necessarily seen it before. It's just one of those things where it's like, oh, this is definitely a book of some import because they did show it really quick. After that, here we go. Agnes with the misdirection. When we saw her looking out the window and she actually came over, she's like, excuse me, because what happened? We finally got that interaction between Monica and Wanda. Now, Monica shows up, and first off, when she passes the barrier on her own, you see that her eyes turned blue. Oh, they went back to normal again. But this is the third time that she's, fully passing through the barrier. Plus, she was really close to the barrier for a long time this last transaction, right? Her eyes turned blue. Boom. I think that by now we can safely assume she fully has, her powers right now. So super awesome. She doesn't know how to use them at all, but she did do that superhero save when Wanda was just like, boom. Wanda looked like by Wanda's eyes afterwards, she was trying to squish her. You know what I'm saying? She was trying to slam her into the ground to knock her out or bust her face open or just, pancake eyes her, Didn't happen. She was like, boom, she did that superhero pose. Reminds me of Iron Man and Thor when they land, boom. And it's like, oh, damn. So that was cool. I dug on that. Looking forward to see her powers moving on like that. If you have spoils, hit me with the spoils, brah. But what happens? She's got the suit and everything like that, or at least close enough to that suit, that costume that she's got. Oof, beautiful thing. I don't know if I showed you guys or not, but Yeah, I just I think 2 weeks ago, I just got the first appearance again. This is my second time buying it. I lost all my comic books originally in 2011. It's a really messed up story. But anyway, so Spider-Man Annual number 10 is her first appearance. The value of this just skyrocketed, didn't it? Like with this episode, just a couple minutes ago, you were here for it, right? You know, when they have those videos on YouTube with like the moment that, so-and-so's career ended. Well, the moment that this comic book skyrocketed in price, possibly 3 times the price, bada boom. There, that was the moment right there. Anyway, so we find, she goes over to Agatha's house, not realizing it's Agatha, and then she's got the rabbit and everything like that. And she goes downstairs and, hey, look at that. Anyway, so yeah, she goes into the basement, doesn't know where the kids are, but there's, I just saw something about Cthon, the elder god Cthon. Oops, excuse me. Graham Mesquita is very much involved in Wanda's life in the comics. Yes, he is. Yeah, this is not the dark. I'm kind of looking at all this stuff right now. Oh, hey, there's somebody's name Sharkbait. Ooh, I love that name. So anyway, yeah, the Cthon. That's actually a really good question. Let me see. The Book of Cthon is actually the Darkhold, so there's actually no need to look that up really. The whole purpose here, guys, the whole purpose of the Darkhold for the most part is understand from the comic books at least, because this was used in Agents of Shield, the television series, but in the comic books, the Darkhold is actually something that we first learned of with Doctor Strange. This is the book that where the Montesi formula is actually in the Darkhold. This is the formula to cure all vampirism. Why? For the most part, the Darkhold is kind of like the inverse to the Book of the Vishanti, which is Doctor Strange's book. Mind you, this is in the comics. The Vishanti. That's what Agamotto, Hoggoth, and who's the third one? Agamotto, the big centipede guy who fought and kicked Galactus's butt. There's Agamotto, Hoggoth, and Akatosh. Damn it, I can't remember her name. Anyway, whatever. Somebody will mention it. The book was, but and that's basically a defensive magic book. In fact, there was one issue of the of Doctor Strange where they actually had it so that Ushter, I just remembered Ushter, that's her name. Anyway, where somebody cast a killing spell at Doctor Strange and actually held up the book and it reflected the book back at it was Klaatu, the name of the person who did that. Can you tell I'm a Doctor Strange fan? And it wound up, destroying him, sending him back to the dimension that he came from. What the heck was the name of that dimension? Oh shoot, actually, Ringor? Crap, it was the place with the ring. Oh, another one of the beings that what's his name? Doctor Strange calls upon. Anyhow, so what's the Darkhold? The Darkhold is basically the inverse of the Book of the Vishanti. Cthon is one of the versions of Cthulhu. When the Marvel Universe was created, it was just created, it was blah, 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 whatever. But when Roy Thomas came along and he started putting in his books, he's a huge fan of a lot of old school sci-fi, old school fantasy, old school Cthulhian mythos, old school Conan. Now, H.P. Lovecraft, Howard Philip Lovecraft, the guy who created the Cthulhian mythos in the Weird Tales pulp magazines back in the day. He just had this, world that was nowadays essentially, well, not nowadays, back in the, late 1800s, early 1900s when he was alive. So around 1920, almost Victorian age. He had this, that setting. There was this space god Cthulhu, not the most powerful of the space gods, but all elder gods. And they were, if you ever saw one, it would be a descent into madness immediately, right? The Call of Cthulhu was actually the first one of those. Really sickening freaking book. It was amazing. Anyway, short stories. They're all short stories because they fit in pulp magazines. Robert E. Howard saw this stuff and he was just like, dude, this is amazing. I want to start writing stuff, but I want to write it in this world. So, and you were allowed to back then. So he started actually writing this stuff his own stuff in there, and he was writing called The Conqueror in a world that actually happened long before the modern day. So it was Earth, but before the continents divided, when it was Pangea, essentially. And he called the whole area like Volusia and whatnot. And this is where Call the Conqueror was. He wound up writing a bad script, well, a script that wasn't accepted, where Call actually dies, and it didn't quite work out for them. They're just like, no, this isn't cool. So he wound up rewriting it a year later or so, and it was called The Phoenix on the Sword, which is the very first Conan story. So the Phoenix on the Sword was, the first Conan story, and boom, boom, boom. And he just rewrote some of the names. You could tell it's an obvious, copy off of his Cull stories. So the first story of Conan was a King Conan story. Go figure. And this was after, this was after a cataclysm that shifted Volusia into Hyboria. So there's that. And then there was another cataclysm, and that's when we get the regular Earth. It divides the continents and whatnot. The first cataclysm sank Atlantis and Lemuria. The second one split up, or changed a bunch of things and got rid of all the spawn of the great elder gods that existed there. But that's the idea. They were all in the same universe. And then later on, those elder gods were all asleep, dead but dreaming, so to speak, so that, folds into the Sumerian mythology. That's actually where H.P. Lovecraft got a lot of his ideas from, the Sumerians. So anyway, boom, that's what you wind up getting. And then, so Ron Howard, not Ron Howard, not Archie, looks like Archie. What the hell's his name? Cunningham, anyway, from Happy Days. No, Roy Thomas, thank you. So Roy Thomas comes along and takes all this stuff, and he's just like, let's see if we can't get this Conan property. And they did. They were allowed to write Conan books and title them Conan. So he did. He's also writing the King Cull stories. He also wrote some Solomon Kane. He changed, what's his name? What's her name? Red Sonja. Red Sonja, when Robert E. Howard created her, was actually this, modern day-ish Cossack warrior, this female warrior and whatnot, would run around with guns and whatnot like a swashbuckler. He's like, yeah, it's too much like Solomon Kane. Let's put her back in Conan's time instead. So issue number 23 of Conan, boom, first appearance, and then kicked some ass, took some names. Anyhow, Roy Thomas came along and he started, incorporating a lot of this mythology into the current Marvel universe. And this is stuck ever since. And it's really only lately that a lot of this stuff has been changed, mostly with Jason Aaron, a little bit with, the guy who loves him the most, Donny Cates. They're kind of changing the Marvel universe. But for the most part, Roy Thomas collected everything that mostly Jack Kirby had done, but he took that and he put it together, and then he took some of the stuff that Steve Ditko did and put that and formed the cosmic universe, and then took H.P. Lovecraft and Robert E. Howard stuff, and he formed the crux of what the Marvel universe is, the history of the Marvel universe, with the Doctor Strange stuff, with the Conan stuff, obviously, with a lot of the stuff that was, out at the time. Oh, Namor specifically, because the sinking of Atlantis and the sinking of Lemuria, those things matter. So anyway, but when Atlantis did sink, there was this one guy named Varn, or Varney is actually the way it's supposed to be pronounced. There is an E at the end. Anyway, so with Varney, he actually wound up becoming one of the disciples of what would eventually become the vampires. And he was the last of the vampires left. Now, long ago, Gaia, who used to be Thor's mother until Jason Aaron happened very recently, last month. Now it's the Phoenix Force, apparently, is his mother, which to me is just the dumbest thing imaginable, but just my opinion. Anyway, Gaia, who is Mother Earth, an elder god, all right? Like truly a power beyond belief, and a sister to Chthon and Set. Chthon blessed or cursed the power that was Varn. So Varn wound up becoming a super, and then eventually Dracula became the leader of the vampires later on. Varn gave his blood to Dracula to do that. So you see how everything's like tied in together, right? Anyway, that's where the Darkhold comes from. Varney actually collected all of the spells of Chthon together, including the vampirism spells. And then later, other evil spells were collected into the Darkhold also, including the Montesi formula that would eradicate the vampires eventually. For only but how long? Because we need vampires in the Marvel Universe, right? Morbius was the only one to really survive besides Dracula. Anyway, boom. That's yeah, and yes, it is a good way to introduce Blade and so on and so forth. So anyway, yeah, that's a brief history of the occult background, the history of the Marvel universe, and what the Darkhold actually is. So anyway, this could very well be the Darkhold. It could. It was introduced in the Agents of Shield television series. But it could be anything for the most part. It could be anything. It would make the most sense, though, if it was the Darkhold, literally the most famous book in the Marvel Universe. Yes, more famous than the Book of the Vishanti, is what it is. Please talk about the Easter egg from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., that Tahiti statue in the van. It's just the Tahiti. It's a, what do you call it? What's his name? Coulson. Back when he was killed in the original Avengers movie, in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., the television series, towards the end of the second season. I think it was towards the end of the second season. Anyway, whatever it was, it was the end of the first season. They gave it, and then we got Bill Paxton. The last thing that Bill Paxton ever did on this earth, unfortunately, but it's still great to see him. Came up as Deathlock, the master of the Deathlocks. Anyway, Phil Coulson had the blood of the Kree pumped into him, along with a bunch of other things in this thing. So and it was like, basically Tahiti was just a way that every single time that somebody would say Tahiti, he would turn around and say it's a magical place. Every single time, it was a way for other people to check, the people who were in the know of what they did to Agent Coulson, to Phil Coulson, to know that he was still under the spell, so to speak, that he was still properly brainwashed. When he just said it, easily, like, Tahiti, it's a magical place, which is obviously a reference back to the license plate for New Mexico. You remember at the end of the second Iron Man movie, I think the second Iron Man movie, the end credit scene for that was Phil Coulson pulling up with a, New Mexico license plate number. It's a magical place, whatever, and then sees the hammer of Thor in the crater below, which is to set up for the Thor movie that was going to come out after Iron Man 2. So he would just always say, whenever somebody said Tahiti, he'd say, it's a magical place. Okay, good. He's still properly brainwashed. So they would move on. Anyway, what entity is influencing Agatha? If any entity is influencing her at all, I don't believe that it's Mephisto. I believe that it's Nightmare. But again, it just might be that this is who she is. We got to remember the most important part here. Forget Agatha. Marvel, the MCU specifically, Kevin Feige, he's read these comic books. He's a huge fan of these comic books, but he doesn't want to just feed us the comic books. He gives a couple little surprises and, Easter eggs and little, hint, hint, hey, you comic book fans, you're going to recognize all of this stuff. But it's not going to be the exact same stuff, because for the most part, let's be realistic. We can always go back to the comic books to read the comic books, but in the movies, we want to see something a little bit different. It's gotta honor us a little bit, but it's going to be changed, and it's going to be pretty drastically changed. Why? Because we don't want to see the same thing, and they've also got plans for the future. If you guys watch the Comic Book University podcast, if you listen to the Comic Book University podcast, and a couple people are, it's number 137 in Arts and Leisure in America. It's in the top 100 in Canada. It's in the top 40 in New Zealand. I'm saying, I actually go into the details in the podcast, talking about how the deals with Marvel and the licenses that they have and all the stuff that is public information. So they actually wound up planning 3 to 5 years minimum into the future. So anything that's happening here was already planned years ago, and anything that happens here is kind of revealing some plans for 3 to 5 years in the future as well. So it's all already written, and yes, it's all connected. So Anyway, so the end credits scene, because there's the after credits scene, right? Is that it? Oh, we also saw the first time that kids appeared in Westview, right? When they were crossing the street and Darcy and Vision had to wait there. What do you call it? The kids were crossing the street. It's like, that's where all the kids were. They were right in there. So that's why the parks are empty, right? You remember in the 2 episodes previous? Anyway, so the after credits scene. Monica goes up and she's looking in the window of Agatha's place. She doesn't see anything. So then she sees the basement. She's like, well, check this out. And boop, pops it open. And she gets ready to go down. And all of a sudden, Evan Peters shows up next to her. That's Quicksilver, this version of Quicksilver. And he's like, what does he say? Creeper's going to creep or something like that. Yeah. Snooper's going to snoop. It was something to that effect. Anyway, I thought that was kind of cute. So that means that we're going to have a team up now. We actually get a team up of Monica and Quicksilver. So awesome. If I remember correctly, for some show or another, we don't know where it's going to be. We just, it had come out that there are 2 appearances that, what's his name? Uh, Aaron Taylor Johnson is going to be in. So, and that's the Marvel Universe version, the MCU version of Quicksilver. So it could be Doctor Strange. It could be 1 episode here, and Doctor Strange. It could be 2 episodes of this show, whatever. He is actually scheduled to appear in at least 2 episodes, though. So maybe there'll be, or 2 things. So there is the chance that he could actually wind up being, switched out and whatnot. Like, in the next episode, if he goes after Agatha and she just kind of goes boom like that, and then he just boom, hey, it's really me. You didn't see that coming. It could happen. Hey, Raph, what's going on, Raph? Spectrum is born. Carol's voice in her head. Yeah, this is the 2nd episode. It was episode 5, the first time that we heard Carol's voice, which was fantastic. It's always good to me because, like, although, again, there's going to be a lot of people who, and I can agree with some of what they're saying, that the Captain Marvel movie wasn't exactly the greatest freaking thing in the world. It could have been put together a lot better. I mean, you had a great cast, but anyway, there was a lot of inspiring moments in there, and just some of the scenes in there were just great. So even just being able to hear some of those scenes come back was fantastic. The moment where it's funny because it happened right after the scene that bothered me the most, with Sword being an absolute crap show. No, it's not Photon. Al Ewing changed that, Dave's collection. Al Ewing changed that. So it's Spectrum, damn it. Derek, yes, so many Easter eggs. Anyway, so after the crappy, in my opinion, crappy Sword moment where, oh look, a military unit can fight against each other. The idea that later on, oh look, here's Monica. She's pushing through the barrier. She's doing what a machine couldn't. She's already maybe she's the only one who could have gone through it because she's already been through it twice, right? Whatever it was, plus her willpower clearly had a lot to do with it. I love the idea that when she came through, as she was coming through, you see her split into different, versions of herself, different perspectives of herself, split like a spectrum. Did you see the prism, there? And then all the things in her memory, the inspiration of her mother, the inspiration that her mother was, which is apparently one person, Mariah Rambeau is apparently so inspirational she could split up military units. Sure. Anyway, I love the idea. Exactly. Who is Ralph? That's the big question. We still don't know who freaking Ralph is. But anyway, I thought it was a beautiful moment when Spectrum came through. So there's that. Ralph, yeah. Yeah, it's a good question. Ralph, like maybe it's an acronym for something, initialization, an abbreviation for something. I don't know. You know what? Actually, here. What is Ralph short for? Ralph is short for Raoul, Ralphie, and Rudolph. Rudolph. Oh, shoot. Rudolph and Raphael. No, not Raphael. Rudolph. Well, crap. Ralph being Baron Mordo. Maybe. Agatha is Santa? No. I'm afraid not. Um, Yeah, Ralph might see. That's the thing. I believe that nightmares because again, it's to me, I'm just looking at it. The next thing that's supposed to come out is Doctor Strange. This is supposed to directly lead into Doctor Strange. Black Widow is actually the next thing that comes out, then Eternals. But Doctor Strange is there, all right, and the multiverse of madness, and we already know for a fact it's already been revealed that Nightmare is going to be the main baddie there. Again, guys, they're going to save Mephisto for something super special, and just introducing all these cosmic level concept style bad guys into this is just going to be too much. You know, we got to slowly build into some of this stuff. Anyway, oh hey, Federico Blee, what's going on? I didn't get to. I feel like I have to report. I Oh, for crying out loud! Oh no, I didn't bring it. Oh, you're gonna be mad. Anyway, I'm planning on getting to Guardians of the Galaxy soon, especially when we see Doctor Doom in the book. So, yeah, sorry. Love you, man. Isn't Monica once held the power of Captain Universe? Did she hold the power of Captain Universe? I don't remember that. That'd be pretty interesting. Um, I do not remember that. Hmm. Agatha Harkness. Agnes. Oh, yeah, you're right, Effiman. Good one there. Agatha reveal was crazy with the Darkhold. Yeah, we talked about the Dark. I actually gave a very long history of the Marvel universe, specifically the occult history of the Marvel universe and the purpose of the Darkhold. Anyway, guys, that's going to be about it. How long has this been going? 36 minutes. It's almost as long as the episode was. So I will talk to all you guys later. This was fun. Look for CBR and all those other places to do massive amounts of research and then act like they knew all the time. Anyway, guys, it was really good talking to all you guys. Thank you, everybody who showed up. Also, I saw, oh my God. Oh, for crying out loud. Anyway, I saw a lot of people showing up in here. Damn it. Who else was in here? Oh, uh, Raven. What's up, Raven? Yeah, had to give a shout out to Raven. One of my mods. I got to say hi to everybody. So anyway, all right, I'll talk to you guys later. Love and peace. Professor Bill, Comic Book University. Class dismissed.